Prime Minister now having tested positive himself for COVID-19. He's released this statement which says that over the last 24 hours I have developed mild symptoms and have tested positive for coronavirus. This from Boris Johnson. I'm now self-isolating, but I will continue to lead the government response via video conference as we fight this virus. So he says, together we will beat this. So if that doesn't bring it home, I suppose nothing else does. Big question is, he says he will continue to lead the government by video conferencing there. If he was to prove more ill than he is at the moment, who actually would take over on that one? He says he's experiencing mild symptoms. So that's Boris Johnson now positive COVID-19.
Let's hear from what the Prime Minister has said on his social
To
media
bring
account.
you up to speed with something that's happening today, which is that I've developed mild symptoms of the coronavirus. That's to say, a temperature and a persistent cough. And on the advice of the Chief Medical Officer, I've taken a test that has come out positive. So I am working from home, I'm self-isolating, and that's entirely the right thing to do, but be in no doubt that I can continue, thanks to the wizardry of modern technology, to communicate with all my top team to lead the national fight back against coronavirus. And I want to thank everybody who's involved. I want to thank, of course, above all, our amazing NHS staff. It was very moving last night to join in that national clap for the NHS. But it's not just the NHS, it's our police, social care workers, teachers, everybody who works in schools, DWP staff, an amazing national effort by the public services, but also by every member of the British public who's volunteering. Incredible response. 600,000 people have volunteered to take part in a great national effort to protect people from the consequences of coronavirus. I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody who's working to keep our country going through this epidemic. And we will get through it. And the way we're going to get through it is, of course, by applying the measures that you'll have heard so much about. And the more effectively we all comply with those measures, the faster our country will come through this epidemic and the faster we'll bounce back. So thank you to everybody who's doing what I'm doing, working from home to stop the spread of the virus from household to household. That's the way we're going to win. We're going to beat it, and we're going to beat it together. Stay at home, protect the NHS, and save lives.
So, Prime Minister, coronavirus positive. Let's go to Carl Dinnen from ITV News, the latest on this one and the implications and complications of this one, Carl. He's saying he's going to work from home. Home is number 10. So does that put number 10 into lockdown?
Well, it potentially does, doesn't it, Eamonn? There are all sorts of questions about this, not least, of course, about the Prime Minister's partner, Carrie Simons, who is pregnant. We don't know where she is at the moment, or whether she has gone into self-isolation with him or staying apart from him. We'll try and find out that for you a bit later. Were the Prime Minister to be too ill to work, then the Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab, is the person who is supposed to take over. Question is, has he been tested? Is he well enough? At the moment, Boris Johnson says he is well enough to keep working and will keep working. And already we have seen that he's been taking part in cabinet meetings and in international summits by video link. So all of those things are in place. But as you say, this puts coronavirus right into number 10. Now, we do know that it has already potentially been there, because when the Health Minister, Nadine Dorries, tested positive, she had been at a reception in number 10. So perhaps we shouldn't be all that surprised. But now we know that the resident of number 10 has it. It does raise a question about whether the work of government can continue even to be run from there, to be honest.
We've seen all the news briefings every evening, Carl. Do you think that will still happen this evening?
That's right. At the moment, the intention is for that to go ahead. No doubt it won't involve the Prime Minister. Potentially it might have to go ahead from somewhere else. We haven't yet been told who will be talking to us this evening, but there are a number of other measures that the government has been talking about today. So I would expect we will be hearing from someone in the government today, but I don't know who, and I don't know who from, where from.
Politically, is this a positive or a negative thing, do you think, Carl? What I'm thinking is, right, so you get the Prime Minister, he's on day after day and he's preaching about keeping our distance and trying to stay safe. I mean, you know, easier said than done. But here he is, obviously, he's now come down with this. He has been contaminated himself. Do you think that actually helps to reinforce the message with the general public? How will the government spin this? Or will it be seen as some sort of, uh-oh, this went wrong?
No, I think this shows that, as with Prince Charles, that just about anyone can get this. Nobody is safe from this virus. It can hit anyone, and we all have to be extremely careful. Now, of course, we will be looking and examining what the Prime Minister has been doing to avoid this, whether he has been complying with all those social distancing rules that the government has recommended for all of the rest of us. No doubt people will be looking into that. But I think in terms of communicating the message that this can hit anyone and that anyone is at risk, it certainly makes that point very vividly, doesn't it?
Do you know, it's very, talking about making points and making them vividly, I think you just got to watch the situation at the moment, and you will know, Carl, as a political observer, that Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, is shining throughout all of this, really impressing people. And yet it's funny you say Dominic Raab, the Foreign Secretary, seems to be next in line in terms of rank. But really, there will be some competition as to who would step forward if the Prime Minister was to become incapacitated.
There have been rumours of all sorts of jockeying for position within the cabinet between the likes of Dominic Raab, maybe less so Rishi Sunak because he's new, but certainly has been getting glowing reviews for the way he's handled it so far. Also other senior ministers like Michael Gove, for example, who might have expected to have been the person who would step in should the Prime Minister become too ill to continue. But so far, that doesn't seem to be an issue. Boris Johnson says he is continuing with his work. He's only got mild symptoms. We've seen that message, that video message that you played just a few moments ago. He clearly wants to be seen to be able to still continue with his work. He's 55 years old, so he's not in the very high-risk category.
Do we know Carl, if most people are self-diagnosing. Do we know, has he officially been tested?
He has been.
Yeah, he has. He was tested on the personal advice of the Chief Medical Officer. So we do know that he has definitely got this. He has been tested.
Yeah, he's not making it up or anything.
No, I don't think he's making it up, but most of it, saying he looks fairly well at the moment, and most people can't get that test.
I think the thing is, Carl, there are degrees of all of this, aren't there? You know, whether people can be totally floored or incapacitated with this. But at the moment, he sounds as if he has a heavy cold, and COVID-19 takes many forms and it affects people in many different ways.
It does, and it does seem to be a matter of luck, Eamonn. Whether you get this very badly or very mildly, you are more likely to get a bad dose of it if you are older, but that's a likelihood. It's not definite, is it? Some people who are younger, and we know that very sadly, one woman as young as 21 years old with no underlying health conditions has died from this virus. So anyone can be very badly affected by it. It really doesn't discriminate.
Carl, keep us posted.
Thank
really
you, Carl.
Appreciate that. Carl Dinnen from ITV News there. Just confirmation that the Prime Minister Boris Johnson has tested positive for COVID-19.